of Comic News, episode 161. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside the man, the myth, the legend. It's Mike.
Hey, I actually thought you were going to say David Lucarelli because we have an awesome show today. As you can see behind me, for all those people who are viewing with their beautiful eyes, I have Tinseltown issues 1 and 4 behind me because we're going to be talking with him about his next installment. Yes, so stick around. We're going to talk to him a little bit about that and how we're excited for it, a little bit about distribution. But, before we do that, Chris, we got some great news today. We actually have news, comic book news, movie news, TV show news.
Be a good show.
It's going to be a good show. I'm glad everybody's here for it. You're all now. Listen, go grab your cocoa, your hot cup of tea, your scotch, whatever you're drinking right now. It's mostly scotch, I think. And sit back, relax, and listen to us talk about all the cool things that are happening. But first things first. There's a Kickstarter going on.
The most important news of all.
Exactly.
Yes. My Kickstarter, Battle Monsters, go to Kickstarter and type in Battle Monsters or look at the link below. We are at, let's see what the chart says, 55% funded with 12 days to go. So that gives you a little bit under 2 weeks to get your pledges in if you would like. And hopefully we get this funded because it's looking good so far, and I'm excited.
Let's go.
I get so excited I wrote for like 3 hours this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish I could say I did anything productive like that, but I did not. I'm sorry. For all the productivity you did, I drank it away. Anyways, that's a sad note. We're going to move to the news. TV news. This is actually coming out soon on May the 4th, because we all know it's a Star Wars reference. Disney Plus will be bringing us a documentary about the making of The Mandalorian, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think. And we all know how, help me with the name, the director, first Iron Man.
Favreau?
Yeah, Favreau. Jon Favreau is really good about that. Talking about the whole directing process, and so I'm sure they're going to have him talking, he's awesome to listen to. And then they're going to provide us with the final episode of Star Wars Clone Wars. Now, is that the final episode of the season or forever?
I think forever.
Oh, crap, that's bigger news than I thought.
So first, the documentary I'm really excited for because A, I love documentaries, and B, I love Star Wars, and C, I love Mandalorian. And I just think it's really cool to jump into that and see more about that. And yeah, Favreau's just he's a good face for this stuff. He has another show on Netflix called The Chef Show. Check that out. He talks a lot about Marvel stuff in there and some Star Wars stuff as well as they're cooking. But yeah, I'm really excited for that. As far as the Clone Wars, so I'll jump ahead a little bit. I'd watched the latest episode, and they're starting to connect things to season 2 of Mandalorian. You're seeing how Ahsoka gets connected to the Mandalorians, not the specific ones we're seeing in the show, but just the race itself. And they've brought back Darth Maul and talked and even connected that to what happened in Solo, a Star Wars story. So it looks like season 2 of Mandalorian might be picking up some stuff left behind by the Solo movie and kind of making those, bringing those together and finishing them up. But yeah, I love Clone Wars. It's sad to see it go, but it was cool to get one more season, especially after we thought it was a dead thing for so long. And hopefully we get something cool coming out of it as well. Maybe we'll get another show. Who knows?
Awesome. Yeah. And I still need to catch up. So I finished Ozark. I need a long show to watch to keep me occupied. So I might do it with Clone Wars finally. Boom Studios. This is pretty big news. Announced first look partnership with Netflix. So we're gonna get animated live action stuff from those two. We already know that the Miller universe has been working with Netflix, right? So they pick Lumberjanes, right? Once in Future, Mouse Guard, some pretty big titles.
Yeah, and Umbrella Academy's at Netflix, so Netflix is really building up a stable of IPs.
Yeah,
which is big. So, and what better place to take them, really? I mean,
yeah,
everything we've watched from, I mean, I'm not saying Netflix is 100% they get everything right, but like a lot of the stuff we love from TV right now is coming from Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And to see them take more comic book stuff is really cool.
And I don't know anything about this, so don't take my word for it, but I have to assume that adapting a script rather than coming up with a brand new script, like adapting a story, which is a comic book, which we talk about how cinematic comics are, and there's almost cinematography to every panel, that it's a lot easier to adapt a comic book than just to come up with a script for an idea, right?
Yeah, and I've heard stories of people who are movie or TV people who, instead of pitching new ideas, will pitch them to comic book companies and make them made, because you can see what it looks like, and it's almost like a storyboard,
right? Yeah,
right on the page. So it does make things a little easier to kind of to get an idea of what the world is, even adapting like a book. It's a little bit easier than that because you get a full image from an artist of what everything looks like. So yeah, it's a good testing ground for this kind of things. I'm not saying that's what comic books only are, because we both know how much we love comics, but it is a good testing ground for those kinds of things.
So for me, I just like the pictures, Chris.
Pretty pictures.
Pretty pictures. Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. It's been confirmed, okay? This isn't speculation, that J.J. Abrams will be helming a TV adaptation of Justice League Dark for HBO Max. What?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm excited. Number one, this first news, I'm excited. This is like cutting off the tail end of that news of like, I don't know what the hell HBO Max is, what DC TV is. Get that old word jumble out of there. Because we don't know where the streaming service is going to end up. But with the quality of the new Watchmen show and the graphics and what the amount of time and effort they put into that, I cannot imagine how awesome this is going to be. I really hope we get Swamp Thing back. I mean, you can't do Justice League Dark without Swamp Thing, so I really hope that the original Constantine actor and maybe Swamp Thing both get jobs out of this. I think
that'd be cool. Yeah. But one thing J.J. Abrams does really well is the get the band together movie, because whatever your feelings about the new Star Wars, I think most people feel that 7 is one of the best one of the 3. Yeah. People really liked his Star Wars, and all those were like getting the characters together stories.
Right.
It'd be cool to see him maybe do like the first 2 episodes and then just be a showrunner from there.
Dear God, don't let him end the show. And there's one thing, I love J.J. Abrams. Do not let, it's like you watch Lost, you watch Fringe. Please do not let him be in control of how the story of the Justice League Dark ends, because it'll ruin it. That's my one request, please.
I always forget JJ was involved in so much TV, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, he's done a lot. I mean, Fringe and Lost are amazing shows, and they do so much some like exploration scientifically and philosophically, but there's a point where you take that existential and leave it up to the viewers to decide what happens in the end and all this bull crap, and no, just end it before we have to do that. Just fucking end the show, please. I'd rather have it end like when you killed Arrow off, just end the show. Like, there's no need to go any further than that. Whatever. But that's my personal request. I'm gonna watch the show either way. I don't know about you, Chris, but
I'll check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been watching Clone Wars still. That's good. Like
yep. Talked about Clone Wars. I watched that new episode of Tiger King, which was pretty much
Joel McHale on a couch.
Yeah. And I found another documentary that sucked me in.
Oh, what's that?
Have you heard of this McMillions?
No.
Okay.
What is it?
So this is an HBO documentary, but you can get it on Hulu if you have Hulu. And it's all about the McDonald's Monopoly game.
Oh.
So basically from 1989 up through the early 2000s, The Monopoly game was fixed and rigged by a guy who worked for a company that worked for a company that worked for McDonald's to run this program. And it's a whole story about how like he fixed everything. He was the one that determined all of the winners. He got cuts from that. He worked with the mob.
I knew it was fake, dude. All these years, I always said that the Monopoly game was rigged. I knew it.
And there was like a huge FBI investigation about it. Like, and it came down to all this. It's such a cool crime story, but with like the backdrop of it's McDonald's.
Yeah, it's like, dude, there's French fries involved.
It's a fantastic documentary, very well put together. I think it's 6 or 7 episodes long, so it's, you know, a little bit shorter than Tiger King, but around the same length.
That's super
and I highly recommend that. That was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just finished Ozark. I finished season 2 of Castlevania on Netflix, and I can't. And this is the by Warren Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
And season 2 kind of starts. It ends. It wraps up like where our characters are and how they're going to kind of band together and go on adventures killing monsters. And we kind of get a glimpse at like we get a glimpse of like a desert of a guy who's like part human but not like I don't know if he's like a part demon, but he pretty much lays waste to these guys and starts resurrecting them as like demon pets. So I'm sure he's gonna be the next villain. It's really cool. I mean, the characters are cool. The animation is fantastic, and I mean, Warren Ellis knows how to write a story, so it's pretty solid all around. So the 3rd season's out. I'm gonna watch that. And hopefully just jump into Clone Wars after that, I think. Movie news. I'm excited about this movie news, dude. I love Sam Raimi, okay? I mean, I'm a huge Evil Dead fan. People shit on let's talk Spider-Man for a second. Okay, there's the Amazing Spider I don't even know if it was called Amazing Spider-Man. It was just Spider-Man. Spider-Man trilogy. Okay, and yeah, whatever. There was a whole emo scene and Tobey Maguire playing piano, blah blah blah. A 30-year-old playing a high schooler, whatever. It was a different time. What I will say about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies is that they're so meme worthy because of how visually stunning those movies are. Right? If there's one thing Sam Raimi does right, he knows how to shoot a film, and he knows how to add color and vibrance to his movies. And there's something to be said about all the memes that are made. Yeah, it's a joke, blah blah blah, but and the casting too. I mean, like Willem Dafoe was amazing in those movies. You know, there's I don't know. I really like Willem Dafoe, but okay.
So I like the first 2 movies. The second one's one of my favorite superhero movies.
Right.
The third one never happened. It doesn't exist.
We don't talk about it.
The only thing I will trash on the first one is that the scene where Green Goblin and Spider-Man are like talking, it's just 2 action figures. It's me in my room with 2 action figures, like, no, I don't like you, Spider-Man. No, I don't like you, Robin. It's the worst visual thing in movies ever, because it is 2 action figures with no moving lips, just like waving their heads at each other. Other than that, it's a pretty good movie, though.
I will say something came up about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, and there's a dinner scene where Peter Parker is sitting there with Green Goblin and his son, Little Green Goblin, and the outfits that they're wearing at the dinner party. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, is wearing the Green Goblin colors, and Harry Osborn, or Norman Osborn, right, is wearing the Spider-Man colors, and then Harry Osborn, the son, is wearing both of their colors in the scene. And it's just like little subtle hints like that, because like, you know, they're like making puns at each other about Spider-Man and Green Goblin. They don't know who each other is yet, but there's like all this like, you know, imagery used. And I think it's really cool. But anyways, now we'll get to the news part of that. Sam Raimi has confirmed as the director of Doctor Strange #2, The Multiverse of Madness. And I think this is a great fit. I really do. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, all jokes aside, it is a great fit because they wanted a horror bend to it.
Yes.
And because it gives us the chance to have Bruce Campbell in the Marvel
Yes.
Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. And if we get a multiverse where like there's a reference to Ash Williams, dude. I mean, he said he put down the mantle of Ash Williams, but I think he would come back for this. I think he would for sure.
Well, quick little Marvel history. When they were big into the Marvel Zombies universe, there was a comic book crossover called Marvel Zombies versus the Army of Darkness, in which Ash fights the Marvel Zombies.
I did not know that. I gotta find that book right now.
I have it on my shelf right now.
And we all know Bruce Campbell made the appearance. I will say the one thing about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, with me and my friends, my and I've heard this from a lot of people. My number one most quoted movie is "Bonesaw is ready" from Spider-Man 1. You know, Macho Man Randy Savage. Like, why was if you were going to tell me that Sam Raimi directed a Spider-Man movie and Macho Man Randy Savage is in one of the opening scenes, I would have said that is insane. But he made it work, and then they made 2 more movies. So, hats off to him for just doing that. And then Bruce Campbell was the guy. If you go back to the movie, he introduces. Mm-hmm. He's the one that comes up with the Spider-Man name. He goes, "The Human Spider. You need a better name than that, kid." And yeah, so Bruce Campbell does make an appearance. I'm excited for this. I'm excited for Doctor Strange too because I thought that was a great first movie.
Yeah, I'm excited for movies to exist again.
Yeah, that would be great. So let's talk about comics with David Lucarelli, and we'll see everybody on the other side.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the show, Mr. David Lucarelli. Welcome to the show, David.
Thanks.
Hey, man. Glad to have you back. I know Chris got to interview you solo the first time because I think we lost the recording, and you were so nice to come back. And now you're here a third time, so...
Right.
You must have done something right. Well, yeah, so just, it's been a while, so let's just jump into what you've done so far with Tinseltown. We're here to talk about the second half of it. So why don't you just give us a quick plot synopsis of what you've done so far with the characters and where you want to go with it?
Yeah, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Tinseltown, it's a period crime drama about one of the first female police officers in Hollywood. Her name is Abigail Moore, and there was a 5-issue limited series from Alterna that got collected in a graphic novel. The graphic novel edition actually has about 6 more pages of story, a couple extra pinups, and you can order that from Alterna. You could actually order an autographed copy of that and some other stuff from me at if you search Abacab Studios, one word, on Etsy, my shop will come right up.
Cool.
So that is done. And then there is a story that connects the first graphic novel with the next miniseries called Pinboy. And that is a 10-page story, which is currently out in issue 11 of it. Came out on a Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Looks like that. And that basically is a little bridge between the first graphic novel. The next story introduces a new character that's going to be important in Tinseltown, Losing the Light. So basically, this story picks up right where the first graphic novel leaves off. It's a little complicated, actually, because the first graphic novel kind of ties everything up in a neat bow, because when I wrote it, I didn't know whether or not I was ever going to have the opportunity to tell more stories about Tinseltown. But basically, Losing the Light picks up where Abby is now recovered from her injuries that she suffered at the end of Tinseltown, the graphic novel, and she goes back to work. And there's been a series of mysterious accidents on the lot that she's trying to get to the bottom of. Things are not going that great at Utopia Studios. They're busier than ever, but they're starting to get some attention from some protesters, the church ladies. There are these accidents. And then, of course, in Europe at the time, the First World War is breaking out. And although the United States isn't directly involved in that yet, it is going to have some repercussions that are going to show up in Tinseltown.
That's really cool. So you're keeping the theme of like the first series of you have a story here, but there's also this overarching meaning to it of like the characters. The first story arc was her struggle, trying to make her way in this world, and now we have other things going on in part two as well that you want to shed some light on.
Yeah, yeah, and her love interest Dan is making his first big real movie, and that's a little difficult for him. He's used to doing stunts like falling off horses and things. He's not really used to trying to be an actor on the screen, and he's not used to the lifestyle of parties in Hollywood and all that entails. So, that's all that stuff is happening, but Abby is on the case of trying to figure out what's going on with these accidents. And throughout the course of it, she's going to find out some things. She's going to end up actually, without giving too much of the plot away, there's going to be a production that's going to shoot down in Mexico that she's going to go down to help supervise, and things get much more dangerous from there.
Yeah.
So one of the many great things about the first series was the art team that you worked with. Are you keeping the same team with this?
Yeah, pretty much. Henry Ponciano is doing all of the art. The sketching, coloring, inking, all that stuff. And we've been working together now for so long. It's really I wouldn't replace him for any reason, because I think he's an integral part of the book for sure. The only thing that's changed is that instead of HDE doing the lettering, we're working with Wes Loker. But that's just how it worked out schedule wise and stuff. I still use HDE for other projects and things, so we're all good.
Cool. So, and your everyday life, well, not right now, but you're on a break kind of with your day job. You're working in this industry, so big movies and stuff like that. Have you incorporated that all in the book? I don't know if we really talked about that last time, but
yeah. So I've been working on the lot at 20th Century Fox for since I think 1997.
So you know your way around a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You've seen some stuff.
Yeah. So I'm familiar with the culture of being on a movie studio lot and all that entails. Obviously, it's a little bit different than the silent film era, but at the same time, people are people, so there's certain things that don't change. It's interesting. I've been doing a lot more research for Tinseltown Losing the Light than I actually had to do for the first one. And one of the things I discovered recently that I thought was really interesting is that, I thought Universal Studios, that this is sort of a pastiche of, was the only studio that had sort of pseudo female police officers on the lot that function as security guards / amusement for the tourists. But I was reading about D.W. Griffith's studio, and it turns out they had that too. So there were at least two studios that had female police officers on the lot at the time.
So someone had the idea first.
Yeah. And basically, part of it was, as in Tinseltown, that you have all these young starlets that are being hired for day work and whatnot. And, you need sort of a matronly female police officer type, like a Miss Redwood, to make sure that they're not getting up to any hanky-panky or trying to, seduce any of the executives, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So with this series, like with the last one, you said you wrapped up in a nice tight bow because you weren't sure if you're going to do more. Have you thought further about doing more with this, or do you see this as a finite ending for everything you want to do with Tinseltown?
I've got at least a couple more stories that I would like to tell, because in this one, she still, she hasn't become a quote unquote real police officer. She's not working directly for the LAPD yet. So, if we finish this one and get the opportunity to do a third series, the third series would be the story of basically her basic training and when she becomes a real cop working directly for the LAPD. And then, I have an idea. Eventually, I'd like to do sort of the final Tinseltown story where she's become she's retired from the police force. She's become a detective for a while, and she's essentially retired from that. But she gets called in to do one last case.
I like that. One last ride.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm a sucker for those types of stories.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. And I mean, this part of the sequel comes from how well received the first 4 issues had, right? Like you had a pretty big following of that, or
yeah. So the first miniseries did real well for Alterna. I think the first couple issues were the top selling titles for Alterna. So yeah. I mean, it was. I kind of just I told Peter, I was like, well, okay, we're going to do Tinseltown Losing the Light, and I didn't really wait to for him to say, okay, let's do that. I was like, no, we got to do this, and he was he was on board with it. So the only thing now is with distribution being sort of up in the air, it's a little unknown, right? Because Alterna's trying to do some direct distribution to the comic book shops, but Diamond has basically suspended their orders. And not to get too deep into the weeds, but we don't really know the potential audience size for what we're doing right now in the same way that we did for the first miniseries.
Yeah. Chris and I have been trying to keep an eye on that every week about the news and update people, but it's it's kind of, and especially with cons too, because I'm sure you were ready to promote this at some cons coming up, right? And WonderCon was always my biggest con of the year, and that was the first con I ever did. I've got people that just like come there looking for me every year, so that was a big blow. And we were supposed to do a panel for both WonderCon and San Diego. I don't think Alterna had a booth this year at San Diego, but we were at least going to do a panel. So, that's a blow.
It's gonna be a tough year all around.
Yeah.
So you're speaking of the distribution going forward. Like, has Peter talked to you at all about how that's going to work for you, the creator? In terms of, I've already ordered my copy of Tinseltown Losing the Light on Diamond, and now I'm not sure how or if I'm going to get it through my local comic shop. Do you have anything to say to any of the other fans out there about this whole situation, or are you kind of in the air as well?
Yeah, I wish I could assure you that order was definitely going to come through. I don't know. I mean, because the problem is that the comic book shops throughout most of the country just aren't open. And some of them have figured out ways that you can still pick up your books or do deliveries or get them through the mail from them. But I'm not sure what the status is. I'd love to tell you, don't worry about it, it's a done deal, but that's I'm not privy to the inner machinations of that, unfortunately.
Well, I appreciate you being honest about it, right? So I mean, we're all in this together here, and we're taking it day by day almost,
Yeah. And then DC just announced that they're like pursuing alternate distribution through 2 companies that, I mean, well, people have heard of Midtown Comics, obviously, not as a distributor. And then the other company, nobody, I mean, who are they? I don't know. So strange times.
Yeah. It's almost like anybody that wants to risk it, hey, well, you distribute our comics now, please.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it's probably healthier in the long run for there to be more than one distributor, but definitely, I think there's going to be some growing pains along the way.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's a whole another talk of business models and monopolizing the industry and stuff like that. I'm not too privy about that stuff. But so like you said, if we want to send people to order the first Tinseltown series, where can we send them again?
Yeah, so it just depends on which route you want to go. You can order them from Alterna. I think it's Alterna. oh gosh, I never remember the exact name of the website to order, but I think it's alternaaccess.com.
Yep.
And then I've been kind of upping my game on my Etsy shop,
Nice.
which again is Abacab Studios, one word. If you're searching for it on Etsy, like Abacab is in the Genesis song.
Yep. Yep.
And I got some cool stuff on there, man. I've got like, I don't know, these are 3 pins. 3
Oh,
Tinseltown
nice.
pins
I
that
didn't
you
even
can
know
get.
about these.
Yeah. So you got Abigail here. You've got the Tinseltown logo, and then you've got the badge, which is
Nice.
number 226, which was my mother's police badge number.
That is so cool.
So, and we got some cool stuff. You know, I'll autograph it all for you. Happy to personalize it if you like.
Yeah.
Not really any more expensive than if you're ordering it from Alterna, but just trying to keep prices low and stuff. This is, if you like Tinseltown, this is the other book that Henry Ponciano and I do. This is Children's Vampire Hunting Brigade.
Yes.
And you can get, there's 3 graphic novels in the series.
Oh, I like that slipcase. That's really nice.
Right. Custom edition slipcase. It was a nightmare getting it made, but it turned out really good.
That's really cool.
And so, yeah, this is, it's slightly different art style.
Mhm.
It's black and white, grayscale, kind of a coming of age gothic adventure, punk rock Buffy set in Scotland. But if you're like me, I tend to follow writers and artists that I like. It doesn't really matter the book. I just know if it's written by Alan Moore or Kirkman or Frank Miller or Neil Gaiman, I'm probably going to like it. So, if you like Tinseltown, check out the Children's Vampire Hunting Brigade.
So that slipcase is awesome. I got to grab that. I didn't know about that. I was like, oh, wow, that's fancy. Okay, I'm going to order one tonight.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool.
So, David, also, where's a great place on Twitter to send people if they want to keep up with your antics?
Oh yeah, so I'm at David Lucarelli, one word, and then I'm on Facebook too under David Blake Lucarelli. I pretty much live on Facebook, Twitter. I have an Instagram, but I don't really use it that much. I'm a writer, not an artist. So
makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, David, thanks again for being on. We always love talking to you, and good luck with Tinseltown losing the light. I am really looking forward to getting my hands on it.
My pleasure, guys. Yeah, we are. We're working on issue 2 right now as we speak, and it's coming out great. I can't wait to share it with everybody. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're back.
Awesome. So please support David Lucarelli, all he's doing. Check out his Etsy store, his Twitter, his Facebook. Such a cool guy to have on our show. And hopefully, I mean, we had talked about trying to make it to San Diego, but they just canceled San Diego Comic-Con. So I don't think it'll be this year, Chris.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about it, how this year was going to be our
year.
Well, so last year, because of my personal life, we were able to do 0 cons.
Mm-hmm.
And I had plans to do a bunch this year, and we were going to start with Terrificon.
Yep.
And I had it all planned out. I was ready to do it, blah, blah. And then the apocalypse happened, and there was no cons.
Yep.
So next year is our year. Everybody.
Next year's our year. Dude, it's been a while since we've been to a con together. I can't wait, man. We've come a long ways, and hopefully they remember us when we ask for press passes, but I guess we'll find out.
Fingers crossed New York won't be canceled.
Yeah, we got a lot of comic book news. We're just going to jump right into it here. Marvel Comics and Chris's favorite writer, Donny Cates, agrees to purchase all of Dragon's Lair comics, and Austin Books and Comics outstanding pull lists that have been put on hold due to coronavirus. So he's buying pull lists from Dragon's Lairs, Austin Books and Comics. Dude, this guy, I mean, can you like Donny Cates even more? He's donating money to these guys. That's great.
Yeah, and from the way it was presented by him and the stories, it seems like he's buying them so that not only to help the stores, but the customers can come and pick up their pull lists and not to pay a dime.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's awesome. I wish I had enough money lying around to do that for people. Unfortunately, I do not, but good for him for doing it, and I hope more people in the comic industry take this step. I mean, we've been seeing left and right where people are stepping in to sell sketches and do stuff like this to help out the comic community, and it's awesome.
Yep.
I actually didn't put it in the news, but Jim Lee announced yesterday or 2 days ago that Frank Miller is actually going to auction off some original sketches.
Oh my god. The old school ones, I hope, not the new ones, but
dude, I don't care. He could sketch my dick, and I'll fucking pay him for it. I want a Frank Miller sketch so bad.
Yeah, you got
to be on one of those like trading card ones. You know, the little, they're like maybe that big.
Yeah,
I don't care. It'd be awesome. That's a small penis joke, everybody.
Yeah, I know. I was kidding. I didn't want to go anywhere near that, but I was like, you gotta just, you just set yourself up for that one. Anyway,
I think it's awesome that people are doing this stuff.
Yeah, no, I wish I could afford a Frank Miller sketch, especially of the old school Dark Knight returns. But yeah, San Diego Comic-Con has announced that they've had to cancel event due to coronavirus. That's kind of typical news of all the cons. Some good news: Vault Comics announces a new sci-fi series from writer Alex Paknadel and artist John Lee called Giga. And the easy pitch for the book is it's giant mechs versus kaijus. And the easy money out of my wallet it's going to be for me in this book. I tell you right now, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, art looks cool. I want to read more on what the actual story is, but I know it's going to sell a ton just based on that pitch.
I don't. I don't need to read any more about the story. IDW announced that they're starting this summer Sonic the Hedgehog artist, Evan Stanley, will be taking over as writer for the series. So the current artist, is going to be writing the series in the summer. Also, a new miniseries announced called Sonic Bad Guys from the current writer Ian Flynn and artist Jack Lawrence. So it's probably going to revolve around all his cool villains that he has, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so I enjoy the Sonic comic books. It's cool to see the artist get a chance. Sonic Bad Guys is a terrible name, Ian. Yeah. I love you, but that's a terrible name.
Come up with something else.
But yeah, it's fun. If you like Sonic the Hedgehog, there it is. More's coming this summer, and we'll change up.
Like, even like Sonic, I know Villains United has been used everywhere, but like...
Even if it was Sonic Villains, that's better than Bad Guys.
maybe there's something with like, it has to still be all ages, and villain is more of an adult. I don't know.
That is the thing. I'm a 31-year-old man, and this is a book geared towards under 12-year-old children, and...
So, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. We kind of want Ian to, come to the show, so I maybe we'll stay away from that one.
Again,
yeah. Brian K. Vaughan's digital platform Panel Syndicate, they announced that Ed Brubaker, along with Marcos Martin, are working on a new ongoing series for the platform titled Friday. The first issue is available now of Friday, so that's pretty cool. Free comics.
Yeah, so this is like a pay what you want, so you can pay nothing if you want.
Right.
I went and bought it and paid like $2. Obviously, I love Ed Brubaker, and I forgot that Panel Syndicate was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember the Ed Brubaker, the Brian K. Vaughan book that came out on it, I forget what it was called.
Oh,
and then there was. Yes,
and Private Eye. And then they sold the hardcover. I have the hardcover. I never read it on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, so do I. And then they had that random Walking Dead issue that Brian K. Vaughan wrote about like Rick's brother.
Yeah, on a boat somewhere.
Yeah, and I didn't realize there was other comics on there, but there's a ton of other comics on there of people I've never heard of.
Wow. I didn't know that either. That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's nuts, but more Ed Brubaker, bring it.
Mm-hmm. Please. Tiger King is getting a comic book adaptation.
Shocking.
From writer Michael Frizzell this June. No artist has been named yet, but they figured they would just take a hot dump on the pages, and that'll do. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the news. But no artist has been named yet, but it'll be a one-shot from Tidal Wave Productions, a company known for making biographical comics. I don't know how you get anybody else besides Frank Miller to draw these characters. Come on, let's be real. I mean, we've all seen Frank Miller's recent cover with Wonder Woman. I mean, that's Tiger King. I don't know.
I I want nothing more of nothing more of Tiger King, because that documentary is perfect as is.
Right.
And it can never be replicated.
There's nothing a comic book's going to do for me. This is obviously a blatant money grab, but whatever. But I mean, some people are going to want it. They're going to, major collectible. But it seems that he's just, even now that he's in jail, he's still trying to make money.
I think that this is a grab by Tidal Wave to be like, hey, we're a thing, because I'd never heard of Tidal Wave before this.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, they're riding the wave.
Yeah.
Right? Right? And they're Tidal Wave Comics. They got to ride. I mean, hey, I can't be mad at them for this business venture. So that's happening. Todd McFarlane, the awesome dude that he is, has been advocating that all the big publishers play nice and work together to bring a new cross-company crossover comics. Todd is one of the many creators to put his 2 cents into the subject, and that he adds that he's open to working with Marvel on a Spawn Spider-Man comic, which is cool. And who knows? Maybe we'll get some cool crossovers out of this.
Yeah, everybody's been throwing out there Marvel DC needs to happen. Okay,
right? Yeah,
I'm down. Yeah. Still don't think it'll ever happen.
Well,
this could happen.
Yeah, Spawn Spider-Man would be awesome. I would love to read that.
That'd be great, especially with Todd doing all the art.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't wait to see more of these pitches coming out from like indie creators and trying to pitch the big two to do something. So,
Diamond Publishing says that it'll start shipping comics mid to late May. But hold the phone, because there's a DC Comics has announced that it'll join Alterna Comics in distributing its comics in-house. The first batch of comics will be sent to retailers April 28th. So Diamond's not coming back till mid to late May. DC Comics is doing their own thing with their own distribution companies April 28th. And they said it's going to be a smaller batch of books to help ease retailers and bring customers back. Diamond made a statement saying that it'll still work with DC and values its partnership with DC. DC didn't say anything. Diamond is like, hey, we still like you though. Are we still friends? Right? We're still friends. We don't know what's going on right now with the distribution. It's all over the place.
Yeah. So last week I kind of trashed on Alterna for the distribution decision because I didn't like it. I didn't like who was doing it and how it was going down. Blah blah. I'm gonna be a little bit of a hypocrite here. I like it for DC. I was hoping Marvel would be the one to do it, but I like it for DC because if I felt that if one of the big two were to jump into this and do it, it could make real change and could actually push real change in the industry as far as the monopoly that Diamond has over distribution. So it is a little bit hypocritical, but I do believe that this is a good move for DC to get their books out. And it could be in a time where, listen, I don't know when Marvel's coming back. It could be this mid to late March situation.
Mm.
And if DC is the only books out there, you know what we're going to be talking about for 2 to 3 weeks? Only DC books.
DC books, yep, pretty much.
And it's not just us; it's everybody out there. So it's an interesting move, and I'll be even more interested to see if it lasts beyond Diamond coming back, and if they decide to try to do more one-on-one with the retailers, and then if more people jump ship and do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. It's almost like they're forcing their hand. It's weird.
And the reason I like it more for a DC or a Marvel is because as much as I enjoy some Alterna books like Tinseltown, so yeah, I love Tinseltown, but Tinseltown doesn't hold the same gravitas as Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just fact.
Right.
So
yeah. We'll see what happens. I don't know. yeah, that being said, we can talk about the books that we read. I'm actually looking at my Comixology right now. I read Batman: The Adventures Continue. #2 came out. Speaking of DC, and that was a solid issue, I think. I think some of the story seems a little bit rushed. I don't know if that's just me. I don't know if they're trying to get a lot done in the limited amount of panels they have, like wrap up stories. But I don't know.
I've seen this when they did Batman Beyond 2.0, and I read it in both formats. 2 chapters is 1 comic, and it was the same for Injustice because Injustice was a digital first.
Okay.
So this is all 1 comic that we read over 2 different issues.
Okay, that makes more sense then for the pacing style.
And I can tell that they want each issue. Although I'm sure Dini has an overarching story for this, I definitely can see that he wants each issue to be a episode.
Mm-hmm.
So people can grab one, drop it, and move on to the next one. So while I agree with you, the way I felt about it is it felt like an episode of a cartoon where it was a bit of a rush. It had kind of a thing to lead into the next issue. But I really, really liked it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that the 2 chapters, because that was chapter 2, and that would make sense if it was a full comic out of those 2 chapters. But yeah, I think it was solid with finding out that the Lex Luthor like Brainiac technology robot suit, that the battery inside the suit was Superman.
Yeah,
that was a pretty crazy reveal, right? Batman finds that out and frees Superman, saving the day. And then we get the little hint at the end. Is that Jason Todd we're seeing?
Yeah, I believe it's supposed to be Jason Todd.
So Jason Todd has got a score to settle with Batman, and we're going to see that unfold. While there's who's the other character they revealed at the end? I can't remember now. But we're going to see Jason Todd looks upset about something. He's got a bone to pick with Batman.
Yeah, and I personally like that moment because I couldn't tell who it was at first, and I was just like, "Are they really going back to Crime Alley? I'm gonna do this. Oh, my parents are dead." And then it was Jason Todd, and that whole back and forth he had with the old man went down. I was like, "Oh, this is actually really funny."
Yeah,
like it was almost like it was written for me to kind of like punk me to be like, "Oh, you're gonna bitch about the origin again?"
Right. Yeah, it was funny because that's how they end the issue. Is like, you see a character walking down Crime Alley. This is where it all happened. Blah blah blah, and then the reveal is that it's Jason Todd. So, and he doesn't seem happy about something. Oh yeah, the reveal at the end too is it says next Deathstroke comes to Gotham. So I think that's really cool. We're getting Deathstroke in this universe.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was excited about. The reveal is Deathstroke will be in the next issue. So. I don't know. I always like that. I always like, the number 1 assassin versus the number 1 detective thing. So, I actually picked up a new book. It wasn't just released, but it's an indie book called Monster World: The Golden Age, #1. This book is awesome. I think you would really like it. It's basically it's a book that happens in the 1930s with a character that's almost like John Constantine. He has a demon trapped, and there's a lot of cool lore. Like, he has the Book of the Dead, and the demon is like the librarian of hell, pretty much. And so, like, he's trying to find a gateway to get to the other realm, because he's chasing someone. And we get this whole plot of like it's interesting because it's almost like Justice League Dark style, like the lore. But it's rooted in like religion. So like there's a story of like Adam and Eve, but there's like a darker turn to it because it's like, have to involve demons and monsters. So it's almost like a religious story, but not too much. And they talk about like part of the original story is there were these descendants of, Adam and Eve that were almost like paragons, and he needs one of those people to get to the other realm, is what he finds out. So he goes searching, and this is still happening in the 1930s, but he goes searching for this in the middle of Oklahoma, and lo and behold, he finds this person on a farm, and the reveal is he kind of looks like Superman when you get to the farm. So, I mean, that hooked me, because you have this interesting story of, like, there's a man here that has been alive for thousands of years, right? He's not an alien. He's almost a religious figure, and it's kind of like that other book, Second Coming. But this is interesting. Of like, bad things are kind of gravitated towards him because of like his origin, and there's always evil coming after him and stuff because it's like they're like demons and not just like there's an alien is coming to Earth to fight Superman. And that's how the first issue ended. I thought it was a solid first issue. The art is amazing. So yeah, that was Monster World: The Golden Age #1. Check that out. It was awesome. I read Villain Takes All #1 that Chris got me onto. That was a solid first issue too. That was really cool. Like you said, it was like a battle royale of villains, and this guy pretty much he's the son of like he's basically the son of Superman almost is what it seems like, right? That's almost been he's like infiltrating the compound is what we find out. But yeah, as with those 3 issues, and then I'm on Black Science Volume 6. So Volume 5 of Black Science, if anybody reads that, I mean it's a great story of family, not a family story, but it's of a family falling apart. I mean, pretty much. And the dad was always putting his research, his extra dimensional travel research, and he was always putting that before his family. And now we're in the Volume 6. We're kind of in he's gotten into some, bad things with bad people, and he needs to get him and his family out of it. He's down. I think he's been captured, and he's trying to right all the wrongs that he did to his family. So now you're seeing this father who he got all this research. The research is in the wrong hands of a company now, and they're abusing it. And you still get to see all these crazy, because the whole heart of the story, the original trade and the first few trades is like they're traveling to all these different multiverse dimensions, and it's all really cool space exploration. You see all these weird races and beings that behave differently. So that's really cool. And now we're seeing all these, the characters have grown over 5 volumes. So we're trying to see him kind of get his family back together. It's Black Science is amazing. Everybody should read that. And Double Jumpers Volume 1, I'm still reading through that too. I talked about that last week though. So what have you been reading?
So I picked up a few more indie books. Didn't necessarily come out this week, but Crimson Scorpion #1. Don't buy this. It seems like I think it's like Action Lab that's doing this. It seems like somebody watched Iron Man 1 and just changed all the characters to be Scorpion related. The art's really good. The costume design for the main character is really cool, but it's basically a guy is an archaeologist. He goes over to help find this cave where they think ISIS terrorists are living, and he gets bit by a radioactive scorpion. Comes back, he's Crimson Scorpion. Some dude from ISIS he thought was dead comes over, and he's a bigger, angrier version of Crimson Scorpion, and they fight. So a lot of Iron Man 1, and I read it and I didn't care for it. But one I did care for was Villain Seeking Hero. And this whole story is about a villain who, over the years, just keeps getting beat up by superheroes. And finally, he gets beat up one too many times. And we end up finding out that there's a union for all the villains. So he gets demoted from a arch nemesis to the leader of a ragtag team. And he gets 2 newbies to go on his team, and he has to lead them in order to prove his worth to the Union. And something happens at the end of the issue that basically turns everything on its head, but it's really fun. The character designs are cool. The art's really great. All 4 issues were already out, and I think they were 99 cents, so it's cheap to get and check out. I really liked it, and I'm probably going to grab the rest of the series and read it throughout this week. But that first issue was really, really good. And then I read The Boys Volume 9, which is much better than Volume 8. And it sets up what I believe is going to... I'm pretty sure the Volume 10 or 11 is going to be the finale of it. I think it only goes 11. And it definitely sets up a big fight between the boys and the Seven.
Yeah.
The way it ends was both super sad because no dog deserves that, and but also gratifying to see Butcher kind of go over.
Why'd you kill my dog? Why'd you kill my dog? Why'd you kill?
Yeah, that was a really tense moment.
Yeah,
and
that's one of the scenes that I still remember after reading all those issues.
Yeah, so he's definitely gone over the edge, and I can tell that it's not going to end well.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
So I'm excited to get into volume 10 of that. That was everything I read. So,
Cool.
Mike, where can people find you on those internets?
You can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you and/or the show and your Kickstarter?
Well, they can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter, and you can find me also at chrisrunt.com, CHRISRUNDT.com. Or you can find the show at fortresscomicnews.com. And yeah, the Kickstarter, just go to kickstarter.com, type in Battle Monsters, and you'll find it. Or if you look at the show notes down below, they're in there as well. There's links on my website. There's links on my Twitter. If you want to find it, you can find it, people. I promise you. And I hope you do and check it out. If you're listening to us, remember to give us 5 stars. I noticed that we got a bunch more 5-star reviews on there. Thank you for that. Keep them coming. And if you're watching us, to like, subscribe, and share the show so that we can reach more ears. So thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.
Politician pose.
China.
Chinese flu.
I can't say it without being like China.
This is going in the initial cut of the show. This should be a blooper reel.
This will be at the end, like I did a few times before.
Yeah.
We will defeat the China flu. Actually, that's more of like a Kennedy.
Yeah, that was weird. We're going to space.
By 1969, giggity.
We are going.
We'll go to the moon.
We'll go to the moon. By golly. Holy shit.
All right, let's record this fucking show.
Anyways.